This is my buddy Lisa's 1912 house, and if you go down to the side and through the back, there's a granny unit, which we officially call here in town an accessory dwelling unit, or ADU, that they started a long time ago and are just now actually getting around to finish. And for various reasons, money's a problem, and so she foolishly asked me if I'd wire the thing, do the electrical wiring. And I thought, gee, that's a worthy project. I've never, designed and implemented a thing like that before. That's before I realized how much work it was actually going to be. But I said, yeah, no, sure, I'm happy to do that. It'll be an educational experience. I figured if she was willing to take a chance on an unlicensed amateur who's uninsured to do the work, I'd give her the best job I could with it. So that's what I've done. Now, this is just going to be a quick walk and talk video, because when I usually do my elaborate videos and film them at my own house, that's one thing, but it takes twice as long to set up the camera and actually film what you're doing while you're doing it, and I can't do that here because I'm already holding up other trades who want to come in after me and get stuff done. And as I say, it's already taken me like 3 weeks, but I'm working alone to wire this place. So this will be kind of a rough, shaky handheld video, but I thought, gosh, I've spent so much time working on this thing, I ought to be able to at least get some kind of YouTube video out on it for the channel. Anyway, so the inspector's going to be here in about an hour, moment of truth, so I thought maybe I'd just do a little walk around and show you what we got going on here. This is the existing service. This is an old Murray panel, exactly like the one I have at home. Let's see if I can open this thing here. Hang on. Hard to do one-handed. There we go. So this is the existing surface. This front panel was originally rusty, and I took it out and scraped the surface rust off and painted it. And then I found out you're not supposed to paint panels, although I haven't seen that in the code anywhere, so I'm not sure it's actually true. But we spent about 4 hours identifying all the circuits in here and labeling stuff. And then the tap for the accessory dwelling unit comes off there. And the question was how to get into this panel to take the power over to the new unit. And there is a knockout on this side, and I could have gone in the side of this wooden box they built around this. Let's see if I can close this and keep the door in place, because it always wants to fall down. There we go. I have some pictures of the inside of this box before I'll stick in here. But in the end, I decided it was simpler just to take a big hole saw and a 3-inch hole saw and cut a hole through the wood, and then a 2-inch hole saw through the metal to get the terminal end of the conduit in. And that worked pretty well, except I ripped out one of the knockouts, so I had an extra hole which I filled with what they call it, duct seal, which is this kind of clay you can use to close up openings. It's fantastic. I didn't know about it before I did this project, so now I'm putting it on everything, every penetration. It's great. Anyway, so we decided to run a 2-inch Schedule 80 conduit, which is overkill. An 1.5 inch would have been fine for the wires that are in here, which are number 3 for 100 amps at 70 degrees centigrade. And but I figured if you got a trench open, you might as well go ahead and upsize and run 2-inch conduit for that, global warming apocalyptic hellscape when natural gas is banned and they need to run a bigger service and pull much larger wires through this thing. Now, this trench was all real pretty and everything, and there's the new sub panel over there when I first put it in, but we had some rain and it turned this thing into a lake for like a week and a half, and so it's just now drying out. And let's talk about the ground system a little bit. Originally, all that was here was a wire going down to this one ground rod, and I replaced the ground wire here and put in this inter-system bonding bridge bar. This is for cable and phone people to connect to the ground system without breaking my number 6 bare copper wire there. So that was all that was originally here, and I don't see this original service bonded to the gas or water mains at all. So I don't even know how legal this thing is. We're going to try to keep the inspector out of the old service today, which is why everything's all kind of closed up, because there are violations in here. There's 15 amp wire on 20 amp breakers, and there's a couple of double landed neutrals, And there's even one, in fact, I didn't show it to you there, but there's actually one tang that's had some arcing. That's why there's no breaker on it. We don't want to talk about that either. I guess the garbage is coming out in front. I don't know what this wire goes to and bonds in the original system. It came out here and it had faded green tape. I put bright green tape on it. So there is a ground going off to something, but I don't want to crawl into this house to look. So there you go. And then we have this sump pump we've been using to pump it out. I'll probably take that out before the inspector gets here. Anyway, so for any accessory dwelling unit, you have to put in 2 ground rods at least 8 feet apart, and I drove one right here, and I looked all over the place to try to drive another one here close to the building, and you get down about 5 feet and there's like rock or bamboo roots or something. Couldn't do it at all. So finally, when this trench was opened, I went and put this one here, which is 8 feet away from the other one. So now I've got my 2 ground rods for the new service, but then I realized I was so close to the old service, I could just tie the 2 grounding systems together, and now the old service has the benefit of actually 3 ground rods, and the new service has the benefit of 3 ground rods. I think it's a clever idea. It's a little unusual. We'll see if the inspector thinks it's okay or idiotic and makes me separate it, but I think it would even out any voltage gradients between the 2. It gives more penetrations into the earth to sink inductive pulses from lightning or transformer problems or whatever. So we'll see, how that goes. Yes, Schedule 80 in the ground is overkill, but that's what's required here. It's a thick-walled plastic conduit. Anyway, that all comes up here, and that's to protect the ground rod. I could have just stapled it to the house, and then I got these new clever intersystem bridge bars that are just kind of inline. You screw it into the cabinet, and there you go, and you don't have to mount anything to the wall. So since this was a new installation, I went this way. This is a square D panel, and I went with the square D because it has the push on neutral. We'll talk about it in a minute, but the real reason is because the door opens. If I can push this thing in. Boy, because the door opens sideways. I'm so sick of doors that open from the top and bang me in the head. It was driving me nuts. So you look around in here. This is ready for its close-up, I hope. There's my torquing spec for the different bolts in inch pounds. This is my circuit diagram. It's called color-coded and nice because I'm a wiener. The purple is AF arc fault and ground fault interrupted. The green is just ground fault. The black and white's an ordinary breaker, and the white is just arc fault. These are the colors of the buttons on the square D breakers. They use purple for GF and AF, and white for just AF. Anyway, so here it all is in all of its glory, and you can see the number 3 wires coming out of the conduit there. I haven't sealed the end of the conduit. Curious to see what the inspector says about that. I thought it'd be better. There's no risk of flooding here, water coming out of the conduit, but I thought water might like to evaporate out of the conduit, especially since it's going to be submerged apparently sometimes in the winter. This is THHN wire, thermal high heat nylon wire, but it turns out most THHN wire is also THWN rated, which I didn't know before I started this. The W stands for water resistant, and that's why you can run this stuff through a conduit. And I couldn't get number 3 here in town. Everyone runs number 2 or 1/0 aluminum, but I wanted to use exactly number 3 because it's just easier for me to pull and deal with. So I got this from Cables Your Way in Florida, and heck, they did a good job, and the whole thing was shipped here for, it's like 30 feet, and it was, $140, $150 or something. So, and it is exactly what I wanted, and I didn't have to do any color coding. You look up here, you go, why isn't that black and red instead of red and black? Because black's usually on the first phase, but in this panel, the first phase is landed on that lug there. So that is the A phase, and that's the B phase. Then it goes A, B, A, B, A, B all the way down. This is a swell modern panel mostly because I kind of built it to the 2020 code. I don't actually know what code we're on here. I may find that out today. I put in one of these modern whole house surge protectors for $70, which is required by the 2020 NEC. I might as well go ahead and do it. And then here's all the fancy modern ground fault and arc fault breakers. No shared neutrals anywhere. I used plastic staples all through because I was superstitious about inductive coupling from the neutral to the hot on staples. So this should be a good installation for arc fault sensing. When you got a little computer in each of these, you know, looking for waveforms, you want to give them a nice wave signature to look at. So hopefully there won't be a lot of nuisance tripping with all of this. We'll see how that goes. But you can see each of these new breakers, they each get a hot and a neutral, so they can sit on the line. And the nice thing about these square D panels is there's a neutral bus running behind this, so you don't have to pigtail to it. You just plug the breaker in, so it saves you one wire and makes the whole panel look neater. And then we do have a couple of you know, standard breakers for things like lights and stuff that aren't arc faulted, and their neutrals are up there. Honestly, if I had to do it again, I'd probably just arc fault and ground fault everything and have all the control here, because it's just easier. It does mean that, you know, you can't buy $8 breakers anymore and fill this panel up for what? 20 times 10 is for $400. You got to buy, you know, $30, $40, $50 breakers and fill the panel up for, you know, $500, $600. But you know, in the end, it should be a lot safer. All the panels are on the outside here in California. That's just the way we do it here. I know the neck says that the wires are supposed to be attached to the panel. That's what all these knockouts would be for if it were in a wall. But here, all the houses are done this way. You run a nipple through the wall with a lock watcher and a bushing, and you do the same thing on the other side. These are two, I guess, 2-inch nipples. The wall here is about an inch and a half thick. There's about an inch of underlayment, and then ½ inch of this lapped Victorian siding. And when we get inside, I'll show you. I did put a nailing plate to kind of anchor these before they come in. But that's, you know, about as neat as I can make it. And I put the miracle of duck seal around around these where they go into the house. So hopefully that'll pass muster. I have the dead front out in the car, but I didn't want to put it in until the inspector takes a look at that. And we've put in a few of these GFCI outlets. I'll try to get one on each side of the house. I think that's required either by the neck or locally. And boy, you know, it really took me a while to figure out how to do one of these, because you don't want to stick this on the, you know, on the surface of this lap. So in the end, I marked it and cut the siding back with the vibrating multi-tool to get to the underlayment, and then I could lay the box right in there and caulk around it. And that works out real nice, and that's how we're going to do the porch light too. We're going to cut out some of the lap and lay a board, and it's a little proud of the lap, and then mount a pancake and put the porch light on that. So let's go around inside here. I won't bother you giving you the big tour of the place. In fact, I've got a, you know, what do I want to say? This is like 25 feet on the long side by 15 feet. So let's see, that's 250 plus another half is 325 feet. But if you look up here, you can see it's got this like 15 feet ceilings, and boy, it was fun working up there. And one of the reasons we're trying to get rid of me or get me out of here so they can have the foam insulation guy come in and foam this thing. But anyway, there's a loft up there that gives you half again as much. So I think you wind up a little over like, you know, 400 square feet. Oh, look, this is the schematic. These are my layouts for each circuit that I did in OmniGraffle. Let me peel this back here. So this gives you a sense of the view. We just came in this door, and there's going to be like a little kitchenette thing, IKEA stuff over here on the big wall. Then there's a bathroom with a closet. We're going to try to sneak a laundry room in there, and then down this little hallway over there, and in the back is a bedroom. So that's what this place really looks like. And so this is the 25-foot wall, and this is the 15-foot wall. And so if I turn around here, you can see this is going to be the kitchen. And on the floor here, we've marked it out. So there's a little kind of modernist refrigerator, a dishwasher, a sink, a little counter, and then a gas range. And then above the gas range is a microwave and a range hood, and that's what that dedicated 20-amp whip is for. That'll come out into the thing. I'm not going to take you through all the wiring and everything, because you know, you can look in the neck. It's just amazing that even for a little kitchen like this, you have to put in so much power. You have to have 2 small appliance circuits, 20 amps each. So you're standing at the sink here, and there'll be a switch here that will turn on this light. Way up here, it's going to be a pendant hanging down from, all 15 feet to above the sink. It's kind of a nice thing my buddy got at IKEA. And then there'll be one 20 amp outlet here, the small appliance outlet. And then over on this side is the garbage disposal switch, and the small appliance 2 circuit is here. So there's another 20 amp circuit here. So if you want to run your toaster oven on this side, and I don't know, your electric pan fryer on this side, you could do it. I don't know that you'd have enough counter space, but technically there's a huge amount of electricity here. And then, of course, there's dedicated circuits for the garbage disposal and the dishwasher, and then and that's the refrigerator outlet. And one of the things I did not do. So anyway, so I put this in and I said, gee, I've got 40 amps here. This is a tiny kitchen. There's nothing in here. I will run the refrigerator off of the small appliance circuit 1, because refrigeration is a small appliance according to, I think, 252 section in the neck. And that'll save me a circuit. And then I'll also run the range igniter, that piezo igniter, and the clock and light in the gas range, and I'll pretend that's a kitchen outlet. This is going to be like a breakfast nook where that chair is, and I will also put that on the small appliance circuit, and that'll be it. I actually went home and read the plans over the weekend for the first time after I've been working on this for a month, about 160 hours in on site here, and then of course multiple hundred hours, getting ready to do this thing, and the plan has a bunch of boilerplate callouts put in by the engineering firm that drew them up that say that the refrigerator must be on a dedicated 15 amp circuit, which I didn't do because I think it's unnecessary. The on-demand water heater, which is outside here, needs to be on a dedicated 15 amp circuit, which I didn't do. I ran a circuit to do the outside outlets and picked that up at the end. So there's like 2 plugs and the hot water heater. And the smoke alarms have to be on a dedicated outlet, which I think is silly, because if your batteries are dead and that dedicated outlet trips, you'd never know it was dead. Which is why I think it's much better to have the smoke detectors on a household circuit with a light, so that you know something's wrong, and you go check it and hopefully fix it. So we'll see if the inspector actually looks at the plans today and those call out and holds me to them. I could run more circuits. I don't want to. But hopefully we'll keep them away from the plans, and I can kind of talk my way out of that, I hope. Let's go. So all of these kitchen wires, of course, are on the other side of the house from the panel. So I had to run a whole lot of wire to get to this end of the house. This is the north end, and the panel's at the south end. And then, of course, we always have these inside bends to get through. This thing is way overbuilt. It's like all this 2x6 construction, which is nice because it lets me hide my wires in the middle. But these inner bends are crazy to kind of sneak wire through. And I'll just tell you how you do it. You can find it on YouTube, I'm sure. But you measure up, you drill your holes, you get them lined up, you blow all the sawdust out. And then you take a vacuum cleaner and you stick it here, and you suck a piece of twine through the hole out the other side. And then you tie I tie a piece of number 14 ground wire to it, pull that through, and then I have something I can pull the actual wire through. So that's what we did for each of these. You'll see I mostly have only 2 wires going through each hole. That's because when you do that, you don't have to derate them when they're in contact with insulation. You can just go ahead and not think about it. If you run more than 2, then you have to do some math for all the, you have to take the number of conductors, and the neutrals are conductors, count them up, go to the 90-degree table. If you have 90-degree wire, go to the 90 rated wire that can handle heat at 90 degrees centigrade. You go to that column, and you take that value for the wire, and you derate it by a percentage, 80 or 70%, and to see if the wire is still above what the circuit breaker is, the 60-degree column on the chart, and then you can run that many wires through a hole. So to avoid doing all that complication, mostly I just drilled a lot of holes. I went with 1-inch holes just because I standardized on that, because it makes it easy, gives me some room. But really, you could go 7/8, and that would be fine, and take less out. In fact, here's a whole bucket of dust from all the holes we've drilled. The best advice I got was from my dark master, who you may remember from my bracing bolt video. And he said for this project, put a spade bit, a paddle bit, on the end of an impact driver, not a drill, and use that to drill all your holes. And it's great because it's small, it goes through anything, but the most important thing is the impact driver is clutched, so it won't twist and like break your wrist, because these modern lithium, you know, Milwaukee tools and DeWalt tools can snap your wrist. They're so incredibly powerful, it's insane. Anyway, here's the back of the panel where the wires are coming through from the outside, and I put those nailing plates in early on, and I did have kind of a run plan, which is why all this lines up, and I hope the inspector doesn't make me put in new circuits and mess it up. But there you are, there they come, and so this side's all going to the kitchen. These are going to the bathroom and to the outside. We ran a spare wire for a 220 electric dryer in the future, but there's gas in there for a gas dryer. And then this is the bedroom, and we got some temporary light up there. Nothing terribly interesting there. What is weird is this ground wire. You saw the ground going to the pipe outside, but coming in here, you know, when you look in the books, the electric service and the water pipe and the gas pipe all come in at the same point. On this house, the electric's coming in on the south end, and the water and gas are coming in at the north end. And of course, one of the relatives here was a plumber, so he put copper pipe in the ground, and yes, it's longer than 10 feet, and as I read the code, that means that you have to use it as a grounding electrode conductor. You at least have to bond to it. And of course, you have to bond the gas pipe as well. So I decided to run a number 6 wire, and the way this house is, the lot here is so tight that this wall is actually right on the property line, and there's no way to get to the outside of this, so you can't run it down the outside. You can't run a ground wire down the outside of the house on this side. And on that side, you're in the living space, and it's a longer run, and you want your ground wires to be straight. So I said, I'll just run it down the inside. I guess if you know, there's a lightning strike and lightning comes ripping down this thing, it's going to melt all the wires. But if you have a lightning strike, you're going to have other problems anyway. I did this late, and I tried to pull this wire through one of these existing holes. There's just no way to pull number 6 wire through, so I did notch it with a multi-tool and put in these nailing plates. But anyway, so this ground wire now goes all the way down the house, straight down the house to the north wall, and then out the other side to the outside where it can bond with the gas and the water. And here's more lovely duct seal, you see, clogging that up there and keeping the rodents out. And there's silicon on the other end of that. And then, of course, as I was going by here, this is going to be a furnace, and this is a dedicated 15 amp circuit for the furnace. Because you can unplug the furnace, then you lose the ground through the appliance to the gas line. So as I was going by here, I put in a clamp to pick up this particular gas line. And then there's another gas entry on the north wall, and I clamped that outside as well. There was something else I was going to talk about. Let's go into the bathroom quickly. Very small bathroom, but it's going to be nice. There's a curtain drain shower and a rain head shower drain and a rain head up there. Toilet that sits in the wall to save space, and a sink here. And then there's your washer dryer hookup, and then that would be electric dryer, washing machine dedicated 20 amp, and gas for a gas dryer. What else was I going to talk about? I had something in mind. Hang on. Oh, I know another thing I want to talk about. Fiberglass boxes, the miracle of fiberglass boxes. Where have these been all my life? I put this in because it's stable for a 3 gang, and it's rigid. It won't move around, and I've never used one before, and I think these are the greatest things ever, and I would think I'd use them for all 2 and 3 gang stuff, because they're just really pleasant to work with compared to the plastic. Plastic's okay for the single gang outlets, but for a switch box, these are fantastic, and you make your own knockouts by hitting them with a hammer and chipping the fiberglass away. And the clamps in these is much nicer than the clamps in the PVC boxes. The only downside is you have little bits of fiberglass kind of lying around after you do that. But otherwise, these things are fantastic. That's my new favorite item. So you can imagine how much fun it was getting up on a 12-foot ladder to put these cans in. Those are Halo, I think 760 ICAT cans. IC stands for installation contact, which means they can foam right up to them, and AT means aquatight, which I'm still trying to figure out. Those splash shields say they have a sealing ring up above, in the can, but it looks like the sealing ring's already been applied at the factory. So I don't quite know how it works, but there's supposed to be a gasket connecting the can to the sheetrock. I'm going to put LED units up there with a bevel kind of pointing them down. I didn't use slanted cans. It all just gets too complicated. I'm worried it's going to be dim, but my contractor friend says it's going to be fine. And so we'll see. And then up there is a fan box. That's going to be a fan that comes down, midway. It only takes power, hot and neutral. It doesn't have a light kit, but I ran 12 3-wire up there anyway, in case in the future a fan with a light kit is put in and you want to switch the light to, from this position. Oh, I know what I was going to talk about. This front door area here, obviously you want to have a switch by the front door to turn the cans on, and you want to have a switch by the front door to turn the porch light on. But this by the time this door was framed in, this was like solid wood. I'll see if I have a picture of the old thing before I started messing with it here. So in the end, we notched a little bit of this out here to put a surface nailed box in, and then and cut a little groove to run my wires. And I did the math. But in the end, this is so close you have to protect it with a nailing plate. So this is my my totem pole of nailing plates to keep you out of there. And then to anchor the wires in that narrow space, there's no way I could get a cable staple in there, so I used cable stackers to hold them, and that worked out great. Except this one is more than 8 inches from the bottom of this box, so I wound up sticking one under here. And I could nail it. I could take a drill extension and nail it in at an angle, put the drill extension on, and then hammer the drill extension to get these in. So this came out really well. While we're on the subject of drilling, I should have talked about this earlier. You can do almost all the drilling in this house with a 1 inch, I guess 6 inch paddle bit, and yeah, like this. Don't use these Home Depot Red Devil ones. They don't work as well as the Bosch. The Bosch grip better and go through better. I've dulled out about 3 of these now, and then one of these 12-foot extensions will get you most of where you need to go. That said, I do have some stuff we actually did use a big drill. This is a big 1 inch auger bit. You see those guys, the professional electricians with the sideways drill, and they just go boom, boom, boom with one of these. And I don't think you need all that. And of course, I'm anal. That'd be too messy for me. Here's my story pole. This is 15.5 inches high. So you lay this I put this on the ground, and then I set each box on top of it, and that gives me my boxes exactly the right height. Here in California, they have to be 15 inches off the ground. These are 15.5 to account for the floor covering. And that's for the Americans with Disability Act. Same thing with the light switches. The throw of the light switch can't be higher than 48. So if you're using a chair, you need to be able to flip the switches. So our light switches may be a little lower than you're used to. Anyway, what was I talking about? I was talking about I got a couple of these 6 inch, 1/4 inch drill extensions. I can put these on the impact driver and make different lengths, which is real handy. Where it was really handy is this situation here, because you can't drill that till you drill this, and you can't drill this till you drill this. So you use the little one to get through here, the 1 foot one to get through here, and then I used the long auger bit on a big extension to get into here. So that was kind of crazy. All right, I got to wind this up and get some work done before the inspector shows up, because I'm still not quite finished with some stapling and wiring and putting some bushings on. But before I end this, let me just kind of go out here. I'll show you the north wall. Here's the other outlet. I've got a bushing for that, so I can clean that up this morning. And here's back here. Here's where all the services are. This trench here, this whole place is dug up like, the Ardennes in World War I. Oh, jeez. And it's like miserable to walk around back here. But anyway, here's where that ground wire comes out, and then we anchored it, and it comes down the gas line here and picks up the bond on on the water heater and bonds across the two. I mean, the whole house is PEX water, right? So it's not gonna, it's not going to make any difference. And then I bonded to the gas there. And then this will be the outlet for the on-demand water heater. See, it's flat and ugly on this side because we're, you know, right between the fence. So there's that. And then this box here is for the future. There's a fountain over there in the corner. My buddy wants to run off of this this outlet and maybe some landscape lights. So in the future, you can tap the power off there for those things because it's a, you know, it's a full 20 amp circuit. So anyway, inspector should be here soon. Let's see if he lets me get away with the circuits I put in, or makes me run others, or complains about something I haven't even thought of. It'll be curious to see. So the inspector came, looked around, said, ooh, 3 ground rods, that's cool. Poked his head in the panel, didn't open the old panel, came inside, looked around, didn't ask any questions particularly. It just all looked workmanlike, I guess, to him, and he signed off on it easy peasy. This is the same thing that happened with the brace and bolt video. If you've seen that, I spent, you know, hours and hours worrying about the size of every nail into each plywood sheet, and in the end, the inspector just came, said, yep, looks good, and signed it off. So anyway, I have passed my first electrical rough-in inspection, and now I was going to say it gets easier. I guess it does get easier because the general design of the circuitry is laid out. But here in California, we have to have, you know, the right kind of energy efficient light fixtures. The outdoor fixtures have to be on photocells or timers or motion. You know, so there's a lot of you have to have motion sensors in the bathroom. So there's a lot of little fiddly bits as far as what actual devices are going to pass muster. But that's all relatively easy stuff compared to getting all the wires in. So I'm excited, and I can relax a little bit while they insulate and sheetrock, so that'll be great. Anyway, thanks for watching this shaky, handheld, quickly thrown together video. Just kind of filler for the channel here. We'll be kind of back to regular programming. Probably in another month or two. I got a couple of things in the works. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.